Hello you smashers, how are you doing? Today I'm going to continue talking about why God allows all of this shit to happen. Why is he just why is he just allowing all of this to happen? Why won't he put a bloody stop to it? Well, I'll give you the Emissaries' take on all of that on the other side. So I put that to the Emissaries. Why? Lots and lots of people say, why does God allow this? In fact, when I was a Jehovah's Witness and we go knocking on the doors, and I used to be hanging onto my dad's trousers and hiding behind him, putting my head under his crombie so that people couldn't see me. People would always say, I don't believe in God. And my dad would say, why is that? And they would say, because if a God existed, he would stop all the badness in the world. And the fact that the badness continues tells me that God doesn't exist. And that is what's called a false equivalence. Okay? It's saying this is this because of this. Therefore, these two things are equal, and they're not. They're not. Because firstly, as I heard a theologian say, you must understand that God is a non-interventionist God. He doesn't get involved. And people go, wait a minute. What about the God of the Old Testament? He certainly got involved, didn't he? I mean, a bit too much, really, when you read the stories, a little bit over the top of his involvement. He was getting his hands a bit muddy, or perhaps bloody, more so. And so what happened? Suddenly the Old Testament finished and the New Testament started, and then suddenly God didn't get involved. And it was all man, and chatty, and Paul and all of those and the disciples. But God not really getting involved. Whatever smiting there was to be done, all the smiting was smoted in the Old Testament. So people say, well, he did get involved. The issue is that, was that really God? Or was it something else? And again, I don't know. I have not got a clue. But what I'm very aware of is that being that called himself Yahweh and El and lots of other different names, and the Elohim and all of that, not a particularly nice being. Not godlike in the sense that you might imagine God is love, as Jesus said. So the involvement of that God does not say anything about the lack of involvement of what we perceive to be God, whatever that is. And again, you see, the issue is that when people say God doesn't get involved, how do they know? What they mean is that somebody doesn't come down and stop the badness, okay? But when they use the word God, do they even know what that is? All the philosophers in life, all of the theologians have said that the only thing that we can know is what God isn't. We can't know what God is. And when we say God can't exist because if God existed, then he would get involved. Again, that's how do we know? How do we know? What if it's not in the plan that God gets involved? What if it's not part of the process? What if God getting involved would completely and utterly ruin everything that we have planned? What if God getting involved would ruin the point of this? I'll give you an example. So Neil Donald Walsh talks about God, not being able to experience its own self, and so it split itself off to go and have this experience, okay? Imagine you've got a parent. The mum says to the kids, get out, come on, get out into the street. I want to get the vacuuming done and all of that. Come on, get out, as we used to do long before we stopped doing that with kids and saying, stay at home, lock the doors and don't go out because it's dangerous out there. But before they used to go, get the bloody out, don't come back until lunchtime. Yeah, even then, maybe not. And imagine that the kids went out went out, and then the mum came down and followed them. And wherever they went, the mum was just behind going, watch out for that, be careful there, watch out, that's a cliff there, watch out, that they can sting. Imagine the mum followed the kids wherever they went. That would just defeat the entire object of the mum sending them out and saying, go off and make yourself into better people and have adventures. And so maybe by asking God to get involved, we would be doing ourselves a massive disservice. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, just a sense that I get. I could be completely wrong. However, I asked the emissaries, well, what about this? And they said, the issue that we have is that we keep trying to make sense of everything. We want to make sense of everything. We want to find a pattern. We want to understand what is going on and why it's going on. And they said, and then we don't find a pattern. In fact, the more we look, the more stupid it gets, the more bizarre it gets. And they said that leads us to be frustrated. We get frustrated and angry, and we've got to blame somebody. And so it's much easier just to blame God. It must be God's fault. And yet, the emissary said that there's only one way that we can be saved of all of this. There's only one way that we can find salvation in all of this. And they said, through God. Okay, so we've got this strange little situation where we go, God's not getting involved, I'm going to blame, I'm angry at God. And the emissaries are saying that the only way that you can save yourself from the situation is to go back to God. And they said, how do you do that? Through faith. They said, because there is nothing in this plan, in this matrix, that makes any sense, except God. There's nothing worth hanging your hat on except having faith that God exists. And that's easy to do. Atheists can step to one side. It's very easy to know that we have come from an intelligent source. It's like you really do not. I mean, it's as easy to understand that as it is to understand that those lines in the sky are not normal. That said, many people look up and see normality. Many people look at the most incredible miracles happening around us and happening within us in every moment of every waking day, and still say, well, that was lucky. That was fucking lucky, wasn't it? They say, if the earth had been 1 inch closer to the sun, we would have all been burned. And if it had been 1 inch further away from the sun, we would have all frozen to death. It was the luckiest thing. Or what do they call it? The Goldilocks miracle or something like that. No. What we need is faith. Faith that there is something beyond this that is beautiful. This is hard, and there's something beyond this that's beautiful. All you have to do is have an experience like in hypnosis with a past life or with higher self work, and spend some time with your higher self and just notice how that feels. Notice how it feels. It's a very different place. It's a very different vibe, and you know that there's something better. Many people say, I'm just going to stay here for a while. I don't really want to come back just yet. Totally understandable. I'm in bliss. I'm in bliss. I'm talking to my higher self. I'm with all of my friends. The amount of times that people have burst into tears because they're surrounded by the soul group or whatever, it's beautiful. And they don't want to come back. And I understand why. But the only reason we come back, the only reason that we can handle it, is because of that. Is because we know that there's more to this than just this. If this was all that there was, all right. For me, if life was all that there was and nothing more, I'd be okay, but I think I'd be a bit sad. And I'd be a bit scared. In fact, I'd start getting scared now, thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? My life's going to be over, and then what will happen? Nothing. I'll be no more. In 2 generations, I'll be forgotten about. Yeah, I think I'd be getting worried about it. But I don't, And I'm sure you don't either. Just because we know, oh, hang on, there's a bit more to it than this. In fact, this is just a tiny little bit of something extremely big. And so, getting back to why doesn't God get involved? God doesn't get involved in the way that we think he should, because God doesn't get involved in the way that we think he should. That's it. That's all that we know. Right? So, not getting involved, so there must be a good reason then. If God is the divine, loving creator of everything, there must be a bloody good reason why he's not coming down going, right, you, come on, yeah, like in the Old Testament. Anthony de Mello repeats something often in his work, and it's this sentence: everything is a mess, and all is well. Everything is a mess, and all is well. That's not his expression. That comes from all of the wise people. Everything's a mess. The world's a mess. You're a mess. I'm a mess. We are all a mess. And all is well. All is well is everything is as it should be. The only issue is we don't know why. We don't know why everything has to be this way. All we have to understand is that there's a jolly good reason for it. Does that mean that it's easy to accept all the time? No. Does that mean that it's not going to affect us sometimes so badly that we curse God? For sure. For sure. We're only human. We give up our divinity to come here. And so we experience things as terrestrial beings. And that's tough sometimes. However, the sense I get is that the tough bit is not going to be forever. And it's going to get better. It really is. I think we may have come through the worst of the worst. And maybe now it's going to be a nice, lengthy, but beautiful process of putting things right. Let's see. That's certainly what the emissaries indicate to me. That we're in the split. Let's see. Put in the comments for me how your faith helps you. If the emissaries say that faith is the only thing that's going to keep us safe and sane in this mad world, how does your faith help you? And what kind of faith do you have? I'd be interested to know. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.